Capes and conundrums. Ripfang is a little thinner than most Canador, which means she looks like she can shot put a grown man 100 meters rather than 150. She has bright silver fur with jade accents and acts like a teenager despite easily being twice Pavel's age. She thought the dirty blonde hair and stubble on Pavel was adorable. In that way, she was a very typical Canador. She breaks the stereotype of a power armor-bedecked mercenary by being a chef. A chef who wanted to explore all the different little things that Sonir ate and how having a hard schism between the herbivores and carnivores changed things. She's sweet, adorable, friendly, and they're struggling to connect. She's eager about her field, delicate, and Pavel has never been the type to actually care all that much about what he's eating so long as it won't hurt him, give him indigestion. Pavel brought some extra large tortilla shells he swiped from Santiago and was piling the combination of grilled meat shreds and toasted veggies into a single wrap and chows down, which prompts Dot to try taking one of her own when the announcement begins. "Want to heckle the next big performance?" Pavel asks her, as Dot chews happily on her combined meal. Yes I do," she says, and they quickly get a to-go bag. For the rest of their food, and Pavel puts the wraps back into their plastic bag and rolls them up to pocket them. "So, you don't really like weapons, and bringing that up killed the conversation." "I'm sorry, my sisters talk about weapons all the time and, yeah, sorry. So would you like to hear about this latest bit of silliness?" Pavel says, pointing up to where a man reduced to a silhouette with a green bowler hat with a barely visible question mark on it is monologuing. "Yes, please, it's very, very confusing," Dot states. "It's a combination of a recruitment effort and public performance, sort of like bait in order to lure people into being recruited and improving the way we look." "So, fake terrorist attack make you look good?" Dot asks. "No, we're participating. We're part of the galaxy. We're trying to make things better in the way that other people want to see. This capital city of Skathak wanted to try and become Gotham. Game on then." "Gotham? Fictional city where a famous vigilante from popular culture operates. He has a bat theme, so the Sonir really connected to him and, well..." He gestures to the city as a whole. The dimmer lights, the statuary, and the blimps, that's Gotham, mostly. Some of the buildings are still upgrading to the Gothic style. "Do you think they'll start picking up the food too?" "I doubt it. Gotham is a human city, even if a fictional one. So omnivorous food will just not be good for either the fruit or blood Sonir." "So, why does human food use so much salt in it?" Dot tries, and Pavel thinks on the answer. He really does. But he just doesn't know. I don't really know. I mean, it's a preservative that dries things out, but that's more old-time stuff, not something really needed anymore, he says. "Do you really know what you're eating most of the time? I can identify flavors and things like that, but, well, but you brought those wraps," Dot states, trying to understand. "Mostly to annoy Santiago. I'm afraid I'm a bit of a cretin when it comes to food," Pavel says, and Dot gives out a rueful chuckle. "So what you like reminds me of my sisters and cousins, and what I like doesn't matter to you. Make it matter. Tell me about weird exotic cooking methods. How do you cook with..." Pavel asks, and there's an interruption in the form of a nearby scream. "What was that?" Dot asks, and she takes 3 steps towards the source before pausing and looking back at Pavel. "Just part of the show," he says, and she blinks before considering. "What? Come on. I brought up heckling this silliness before, right? Well, time to let you see it. I still can't believe that the family hunting trip suddenly turned into something so silly," Dot says, and she follows Pavel at a more sedate pace towards the source of the sound. There's a police cordon around the area with yellow tape that Pavel ducks under and Dot steps over. The scene is one of a woman getting a white line drawn around her by a man in a long tan coat and wearing a brown hat. There are numerous fake officers standing around. 4 of them are mannequins. He then holds out his arm to stop her from going much further. She walks into it mid-thigh and pauses before kneeling down to his level. So what's going on? We're testing out numerous different characters we can play as or use in our little theater performances. Long story short, I was used to introduce Deadshot the Sniper. We've already got Bane the Brute and Deathstroke the Mercenary. So we're having our bits of fun and testing things out bit by bit. So who's being shown off this time? Dot asks. If you two could step back out of the cordon. You're off-duty Zeman, miss. Please back off. The detective says. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. Oh, knowing him, he led you into danger. But more than just Mr. White will be out for my blood if I let a civvy in here without the proper paperwork, he says, and Pavel chuckles. All right, let's get to the legal safe distance and watch the show, Pavel says, jumping over the tape this time, and Dot lets out a huff of amusement before reaching down and lifting the tape to move under it. It outright snaps at one end, and Pavel chuckles as the detective starts swearing under his breath. He still grabs the tape and ties it back in place. Okay, both of you take another step back. Don't break things. Why did you say us? He didn't cause any harm, Dot asks after a moment, and the detective chuckles. And he led you to that touch of harm. Don't let the fact he's a man fool you. He's an enabler. You say that like it's a bad thing, Pavel says. Enabler? Dot asks. I don't actually care much about cooking. If it tastes good and doesn't hurt me, then it's fine. But you like cooking, so I want to hear that out. You didn't seem interested earlier, Dot says, and he sighs. I'm trying not to stare, he says. What? I befriended your aunt? Mother? There's a specific term for a woman you're not related to, but is married to your father at the same time as your mother isn't there. Other mother, she says, and he shivers. What was that about? A horror book my sister loves is called Coraline. The monster in there introduces herself as your other mother. Oh, is it bad? A life-drinking, shape-shifting, sadist monster that feigns kindness to lure in its prey. Children all. Oh, well, my is my other mother. There's no blood there, but she's family. I can't even imagine her being anything else. I know that sensation. My stepmother is like that. Not my mother, but still family and still someone I can rely on and love. Stepmother? Humans have a balanced male to female ratio, so we're mostly monogamous, usually. Anyways, a step-parent is if, for some reason, your biological parents are no longer together. Divorce, death, or any other reason, a stepmother is a woman married to your father that is not your mother. Is it possible to only have step-parents? Well, if one died and the other remarried, then that one died maybe. But biological parents, and especially the mother, is almost always prioritized in the custody of a child. Oh, well, my is my other mother, she says, and there's a teeny tiny flinch and she smirks in amusement. Why is that so funny? Pavel just shrugs before he lets out a chuckle as numerous so near with Batman designs swoop down on the area. What's that symbol they're wearing? Bat symbol. Like I said, they're fans of the Batman character. He has an entire gallery of colorful foes and colorful allies, so we're testing the waters to see what foes these girls can handle. Some of them are just scary with easily dialed down weapons or lethality. Others are, well, possibly dangerous. And some are just silly and harmless. Which one is this? Dot asks. I refuse to elaborate on the account that it's supposed to be a surprise. Pavel remarks before suddenly jumping as a strong hand grabs him on the shoulder. All right, El Pelmazo, cough up my tortilla wraps. I know you swiped them, Santiago says as he tightens his grip. Oh, hello, Bane. Do you want me to break the dead shot? Give me my tortillas back. Santiago threatens, and Pavel reaches into his pocket and pulls out the baggie. He then pauses, Were they good? Toasted veggies and grilled meats pair nearly perfectly with them. Some sauces would have made things far better, Dot says, and Santiago considers. Something to consider. If I can get some rice around, we'll be able to really feast. Santiago considers. Rice? Dot asks. Staple grain, Santiago says before someone inside the cordon shushes him. Hey, we're trying to solve a mystery here. One of the Batwomen complains and Pavel grins. Then by all means, solve the mystery. First mystery. Why can't you figure anything out? He demands. And then catches a badly thrown batarang. I can give this back far faster than you can take it back. Are you sure you want to play this game? How about no one plays that game? Dot asks, taking the batarang from Pavel and leaning over to hand it back to the Batwoman. We'll be more respectful. But I wanted to do a running commentary, Pavel says, and she puts a finger to his lips. Did you just shush me? Yes, and I'll do it again, see? She says before putting a finger to his lips once more. Right. Well, you two seem to have things figured out. I'll get out of the way before the clothes and fur start flying. Santiago teases before walking away, and about a quarter of the Batwomen in attendance give out an ooh of interest. Hey, pay attention to the case already, Pavel tells them. Didn't you want to heckle and distract them? Dot asks in amusement. Not like that, he protests. Then how? She asks. I'm being teased. Yes, you are. Well spotted, she says, patting him on the head. There's the Canador confidence. I can't help being myself, Dot says. Get a room, one of the Batwomen calls out. No, and you can't make me, Pavel calls back. Wow, that sounded petulant, Dot says around some laughter that's breaking through. Yeah, it did, Pavel admits. Still, do you think any of them noticed the villain in the scene yet? What? Where? Is this someone in disguise again? Check everywhere. The Batwomen call out as they start looking around, and Dot kneels down to Pavel's level again and leans in close. What she gets instead is his communicator with an answer typed out. Do not look at the body. Especially do not point out that it's actually a slobe in disguise. Her name is Scout Marypole. Dot scans the area to try not to give things away and then turns to Pavel. Are you sure? It looks clear. She says he nods. Then why hasn't anything happened yet? This is a level 1 challenge. We have 4 levels on thing. Level 1 is easy mode. It's all on a script. The only surprise is that you get surprised by anything. Level 2 involves actual initiative on the part of the challenge or villain. 3 is where a lot of the hints and help stops coming, and level 4 is where all the rules but the non-lethal one are set aside. On level 4, we're trying to actually fight Batman but not kill him. Pavel explains, and Dot lets out a sound of understanding. And this one is called? She asks, and he types out a bit more on his communicator and holds it up for her. Clayface. Odd name. In comic shapeshifter, kind of like a Slowbee. And this employee? They're, I can't ask the question without one of the Batwomen hearing it. No, keep asking. This helps. I've almost figured out what he's typing by sound alone. One of the Sonier states. You can do that and you still can't figure out the next step. That's like being unable to win a ping pong match with your side of the table up. A what? The Batwoman asks. Never mind, Pavel states before suddenly looking interested. Scratch that, actually. How old are you, girl? What's your job? I'm in public education. Like it? I printed off the design myself, the young Sonier says as she shows off the Batman t-shirt and cape. You're like 14, aren't you? 12, she protests. I am a shit judge for other races. Pavel says to bite down the fact that the Sonier girl he thought was a full-grown woman isn't even a teenager. Now he feels kind of dirty. At least Dot is of age. You couldn't tell at all, Dot says with amusement. Is that why you asked my other mother how old I am? Yes, this is a galaxy where people can turn back their personal clocks. It's very hard to tell. Pavel says somewhat ruefully as the Batwomen continue to fail to find the clues leading to the slobe clayface. Are they too subtle? There are tiny bits of goo slowly moving towards the slobie, a very hard technique for the species to pull off, and one considered almost useless at times, but after all that effort, poor Scout was just getting no recognition. All right, we are now putting on a timer. If you cannot solve this part of the case in a half hour, then we move to the next stage and there are no points or prizes for this section. The detective announces and there's a rush, which leads to one of the Batwomen stepping on the body and revealing it to actually be the Clayface actor. "Oh my God," Pavel says, face-palming, and Dot outright snickers at his reaction before it evolves into barely contained giggles.